Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us this evening and for your interest in Belton ISD. I hope you've enjoyed our student showcase tonight by the North Belton Middle School Jazz Band. The time is now 6:15 p.m. and the Belton Independent School District Board of Trustees are now convened in a regular board meeting on Monday, December the 11th, 2023 in the James L. Burrell Elementary School, located at 8104 Glade Drive, Temple, Texas. What a beautiful building, right? Oh, yeah. A quorum of board members is present. This meeting has been duly called and the notice of meeting has been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551. I want to welcome the members of our audience and our live stream viewers to this meeting. As the Belton ISD Board of Trustees, we are here to set goals, listen to reports from the superintendent, approve budgets, contracts, personnel appointments, and make policy for the district. However, it is not the role of the board to make day-to-day operational decisions. The management and day-to-day operations of the district are the responsibility of the superintendent. We have policies and procedures in place to resolve concerns and issues. This is a meeting of the Board of Trustees held in public. It is not a public meeting. Prior to this meeting, board members received information related to items on tonight's agenda. Agenda items may not necessarily be handled in the order listed on the notice. This meeting is open to all who wish to attend and hear the matters discussed. These proceedings are being live streamed on BISD's YouTube channel, and a recording of the meeting will be available on the district's website in the days following tonight's meeting. For the video to adequately reflect the proceedings, I respectfully ask that you please refrain from talking while others are speaking and that cell phones are turned off or in the silent mode. Please rise for a moment of silent prayer or meditation. Please remain standing as our students from James L. Burrell Elementary School lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance and honors to the Texas flag.
Thank you, Board. With us tonight, we have Colin Adams saying the Pledge of Allegiance and Jude Sutton saying the Texas Pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to the Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
You may be seated. Recognitions is the first item on the agenda. We will turn it over to our communications team to start that off for us.
Yes. To our honorees this evening, we are going to call you up in groups, and you're going to come and have your picture taken with the board. And then we ask that you go back to your seat and remain seated until we are completely through with all of our recognitions, and you are dismissed by Board President Manuel Alcozer. So, Board, if I could have you come down here. We're going to get ready for some photos. Our first recognition this evening are these two right here, our student pledge kids from James Burrell Elementary. We have Colin and Jude. So Colin is in fourth grade, and her favorite subject is reading. Outside of school, she lives for family, game, and movie nights. Friends say that she is kind, protective, and charismatic. And Jude is a fifth grader, and his favorite subjects are math and science. And outside of school, he enjoys sports, and his friends say that he is kind, caring, and an overall good friend. Didn't they do a good job today? Thank you. All right, our next recognition was our first showcase of the evening, the North Middle School Band. If I could have these students come up and come over here to the board. The North Middle School Band is extremely talented. Last spring, they received straight superior ratings during concert and sight reading. And most recently, they were named a commended winner at the 2023 Foundation for Music Education's National Wind Band Honors. And they are under the direction of Dane Werman and Caitlin Pinero. And they did excellent tonight with their holiday tunes. Thank you, guys. It's a big group. And parents, if you want to take pictures, go, please join us. I love the Santa hats. Very festive. And everybody, make sure you can see the cameraman so he can make sure that he sees you. All right, great job, guys. Thank you so much for being here tonight. Y'all did a great job. Really helped set the mood. Thank you so much. So this is pretty cool. Tonight we actually have a second student showcase. And the second student showcase is the Lake Belton High School Buckles and Beans coffee group. And these are students that are learning life skills while working in a work-based learning environment. And they served our board and executive team coffee earlier tonight, and they did a fantastic job. And we're super proud to have them with us tonight. If you're at Lake Belton High School, you should check out their store. They sell coffee on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And this is an opportunity for these students to learn skills that will benefit them once they leave our system. And they're very popular. Thank you, guys. Our next recognition, I don't believe was able to make it with us tonight, but we'll go ahead and recognize him publicly. Shrey Gupta was our National Merit semifinalist from Lake Belton High School, and he couldn't be here, but we are very proud of him and his academic accomplishments. Our next recognition, we are super excited to recognize cross-country state qualifiers from Belton High School. We have Briac Ibanez and Olivia Brillhart. Olivia placed 16th at state, and Briac placed 56th. They are coached by Holly Lambert. I'm sorry, I was going to get this right. Holly Lambarte. But they did. State is tough, and we are so proud that they represented us so well. Congratulations. Next, we're recognizing 35 athletes across the district that performed extremely well in their sport and also academically. These are all-state athletes from Belton High School. We have our cross-country academic all-state team. These are excellent athletes and excellent students. Congratulations, guys. Our next recognition is the academic all-state tennis team from Belton High School. Come on up here, guys. We're incredibly proud of y'all. Thank you for being here tonight. And now we have our academic all-state volleyball. I forgot to mention tennis is coached by James Stinson and volleyball is coached by Haley Evans. Congratulations to these athletes. Now from Lake Belton High School, we have our all-state, academic all-state cross-country teammates. Thank you, guys. Now we have academic all-state tennis from Lake Belton High School. They're coached by Nikki Morgan. And cross country is coached by Austin Wooten. Apologize for that. And last, our academic all-state volleyball team from Lake Belton High School. And they're coached by Allison Waits. Congratulations. It's with great pride that we recognize 2 football players from Lake Belton High School. They have been named Football All-American All-Stars. This is Selman Bridges and Micah Hudson. Let's see. Selman was selected to the Army All-American, and Micah was selected to the Under Armour All-American, and both will be playing in their upcoming games soon. Congratulations, guys. We're so proud of you. And they are coached by Brian Cope. And then next we have our Belton Rotary Educator of the Quarter. Thank you. That's Carrie Dudley. She has taught for 27 years at Sparta Elementary. Her AP, Robin Burney, says her impact on our students goes beyond the classroom. It extends into their personal lives, helping them develop valuable skills such as discipline, teamwork, and self-expression. Congratulations, Carrie. And it's fitting tonight that our department recognition is our construction department, which is Mr. Steve Berry. He has done an excellent job. He's done an excellent job overseeing our new construction and our improvement projects, all part of our $173 million bond, and we are incredibly grateful for all that he's done for Belton ISD. And last but not least, our community partner recognition. We are pleased to recognize CGI, and we're recognizing them tonight for their support for many things in Belton ISD, but in particular Project Heartbeat. Project Heartbeat is our program that supports students that are experiencing homelessness. And CGI goes above and beyond for this program. They provide school supplies, Christmas donations, and they also assist with a mentor program. And they are huge in the Belton ISD community, and we are incredibly grateful for them. We have representing CGI, Stephanie Bayfield and Chris Floor. So thank y'all for being here.
If the audience would give all of our recognitions one more big round of applause tonight, please. The work that happens on a regular basis for kids is led and supported by amazing educators along the way. And I want to take one more minute to acknowledge all of the teachers, staff members, and coaches that poured into our students and their success in all this. Please join me in giving them a round of applause.
Okay, now that recognitions have concluded, we'll take a short break. Allow families and students to clear the cafeteria. Of course, you're welcome to stay for the meeting if you would like. So, got a few minutes to exit if you would like, or to stay. Your choice. Okay, class. Next on the agenda are public comments in accordance with policy BED local. We will take public comments regarding items on the agenda at the beginning of the meeting, and comments regarding non-agenda items will be heard at the end of the meeting to allow the board to conduct the business of the district. Public comments, Becca, do we have any? None, all right. Moving on to item 4 on the agenda, action items. Consider, discuss, and take appropriate action regarding new course approval for 2024-2025 school year. Dr. Smith?
Board, I'd like to welcome Gabby Nino up tonight. She's going to walk you through a couple of proposals. As you recall from our last board meeting, Gabby went over the process to get you new courses to approve, and tonight she's bringing you some for your consideration.
Good evening, Mr. Alcozar and board. As Matt said, I'm here this evening to seek approval for proposed courses for the 24-25 school year. And as he also shared, just as a quick reminder for our process, we reviewed last month, and we'll always consider any courses in alignment with our vision, values, and belief. And do they align to need or a desire to expand offerings for students in our district. I'm bringing to you this evening 4 different courses, and I'll walk through some highlights of those courses as proposed. First of all is wrestling. Our athletic department has proposed a wrestling course being added with a couple of big reasons why. There is a strong interest within our community to add wrestling, and it will allow us to expand our competitive playing field in the area with many surrounding districts already offering wrestling. And a strong desire from our athletic department is to expand opportunities to engage all students. And this would be a way to allow another offering for both young men and women in the field of wrestling. And so that's one of the courses. Another athletic course I'm bringing to you all tonight is Ref Reps. This would be in partnership with the Texas Association of Sports Officials, offering our students to learn the skill set of refereeing and also respond to a need within our community, which we feel is very much in alignment with our vision. There is a growing shortage of referees that causes some of our games to go on pause, both inside and outside of the district. So it's aligned to a workforce need, and again, want to increase opportunities to engage all students. I will tell you that Mr. Skidmore sees that this, as well as our coaching team, sees that this is a way to engage students who may not feel comfortable on the field or the court, but very much want to be a part of the athletic community, and so this gives them that opportunity to engage. The third course I'm bringing to you this evening is GT Pathways. This is aligned to a need that we have within Belton ISD to strengthen the services that we offer our students who meet eligibility for gifted and talented services. We do have requirements for a GT plan within the state, and this is an area that we feel like we need to invest in growing opportunities, in particular at the middle school. So this would be a middle school course offered at all 4 of our middle schools, an elective for those students who meet eligibility for gifted and talented, and would give a vertical pathway for students to grow within our system as they transition from elementary into middle and then further on into high school. So expanding those growth opportunities for GT students. And the final course that I bring to you this evening is an AP, Advanced Placement Pre-Calculus course. It's one of our goals to expand offerings for students to engage in coursework at advanced and collegiate level, and this would be one of those offerings. We have system alignment where we offer AP Calculus. This would be just right before that. And we have a group of teachers. Do y'all see this? That's why it sounded funny. Sorry. The mic was dropping. We have a group of teachers who have already engaged in the training for this course, and they brought this to us as a strong interest for them. So we've already got trained teachers and a group of students with a strong interest in growing offerings for advanced coursework. Finally, I just want to remind you all that after approval of any of these courses, our first step would be to communicate with the campuses who already have knowledge that we are exploring these, but we would work with our campuses, start communicating with families, and add the courses to our catalog. And then when we return in the spring, our counselors begin the process of academic advising and selecting courses alongside students and families. With that, any discussion or questions?
Board, any follow-up questions for Gabby? Chris?
Got a couple real quick. Looking at the wrestling curriculum, I know this has been hugely popular, right? I've heard lots of voices want to add this in. So when we look at facility impact of wrestling, right, have we talked through that yet? And can you share a little bit about how we're going to make this work in the facilities that we have?
Absolutely. So there is the facilities at BHS in particular, they've already got space allocated for that. And our coaching team at Lake Belton High School will engage in planning with the campus leadership team for different spaces that they might engage in wrestling.
And then on the rep side, what's the vision for how the students plug into the community, right? I mean, are they plugging in at the high school level, or are they plugging in at the lower levels?
They would plug in at the middle school level. So there are 6 different sports that they would be able to ref in, and after they go through a series of coursework, they get their certification, and they can begin reffing at our middle school games. All right.
Anyone else? Chris? No? With regard to the wrestling, is that something that would be implemented immediately? And then when would the kids compete? Would that be like in the fall? Is that a fall sport or spring sport? What is it?
So it would be implemented for courses in the 24-25 school year.
Okay. And when do they compete? Is it fall or spring sport? Do you know? I just wondered.
Can you answer that question as a former wrestler?
Yeah.
Yeah. Fall.
Yeah, so it's a fall sport, and then state is in February. So you
Okay.
actually kind of coincides with basketball season. You finish football season, you go straight into wrestling, and typically you'd be done with wrestling right before baseball would begin.
Okay. The ref reps, is that something that could be taught through the CTE program?
We actually, at this time, we're going to approach through adding as elective, but yes, Ms. Ayers, our new CTE director, has been at the table, and we are looking for opportunities to expand through CTE.
Okay, all right. You want to have any questions? District question for Gabby? No? All right. Do we have a motion to approve the new courses for the 2024, I guess it should be 2025 school year? Suzanne? Motion, I have a second. Aaron? Any additional discussion? No additional discussion. All in favor, raise your hand. That passes 7-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gabby. Consider, discuss, and take appropriate action regarding the adoption of GKG local. This is our second reading. Dr. Smith?
Board, just a little bit of background. This is the policy that we had a first reading from Todd last month. This is a volunteer policy to ensure that we codify this in your policy manual.
So, thank you. Good evening. So, GKG Local, it is regarding volunteer programs. As Dr. Smith said, we did do a first reading of this policy last month. And really, the policy is recommended by TASB, and it really just lays out our practice for volunteers. And so we're just asking for your approval or for the addition of that policy tonight.
Any questions for Todd Schiller? No questions? Any further discussion? There being no further discussion, do we have a motion to approve the second reading? Mr. Norwood, first, second. Ms. Lee? All in favor, please raise your hand. That passes 7-0. Thank you, Mr. Schiller.
Yep, thank you.
Moving on to 4C, consider, discuss, and take appropriate action regarding the resolution to accept chaplains and volunteers. Dr. Smith?
Board, this is a follow-up to the policy that you just approved, and as Todd talked to you about before, we have a requirement to address this item in a time frame before March, and so Todd will tell you a little bit about that.
So, thank you. So Senate Bill 763 was a legislative bill that was approved this last year or in the summer, and that requires school boards to take actions on how they will utilize volunteers. And so after much discussion, we have recommending tonight the adoption of a resolution that talks about utilizing volunteers, chaplains as volunteers into our system. And to be honest with you, this is no change from how we've currently do business. We've utilized our faith-based leaders in the past in various areas, and so we would like to continue to do that through the volunteer system.
Any questions for Mr. Schiller? No further discussion. There being no questions, further discussion. Do we have a motion to approve the resolution to accept chaplains as volunteers? Rooker, have a second motion? Ms. Bass? All in favor, please raise your hand. That passes 7-0. Moving on to item 4D, consider, discuss, and take appropriate action regarding budget expenditure. Dr. Smith?
I'm just going to let Todd take it from here. He's staying up there, so I feel like it's
see that.
awkward right now.
So tonight we are recommending a budget expenditure, which would be an incentive paid to staff in the amount of $500 per individual, will be paid later this week. And we want to acknowledge our staff and the work that they've done for us this fall. And as you know, when we are going through our compensation proposal at the beginning of the year, the salary increase that we asked for adoption of wasn't to the level that we wanted to do. And so we thought this is a way that we could recognize staff and regarding their service to our district. So we would pay anybody, regular permanent employees that were on staff as of December the 1st, and the total cost would be about $1.3 million.
Any questions, comment?
Just a point of clarification, that's all staff.
That would be all regular permanent employees. Substitutes currently receive $500 for working 70% of the year, and so really this payment with other staff would be able to match that. So.
Okay,
Jeff?
I'll go ahead real quick on that one, because we have had discussion about this. Probably going to regret what I'm about to say, but I'm going to say it anyways. You know, this facility here is great. All of our facilities are. The truth is, the greatest resource we have is our people. And the state of Texas has decided to not fund public education on this go-around, and quite honestly hold our staff hostage to the things that they want. It's not right. And we are going to take $1.3 million that we probably would have allocated to something else, but our staff is worth so much more than that. And I want that to be made public that, school districts all over the state are hurting, and our employees are hurting because of this. And we as the board don't have the ability to do the things that we would like to do, which was give an adequate raise for the work that they do, because the state has decided not to fund us. So, to the staff out there, it's $500. It's not enough. I wish it could be more. But I think I can speak for the board when I say we just appreciate all the work that they do. And we will continue to work hard with the state to try to get you the raises that you all deserve.
Thank you, Jeff, and I agree with you. Ms. Lee?
Yeah, just to echo how much we appreciate and hope that this is beneficial to you in the holidays, and that you can enjoy this in any way that you choose. And this is a privilege for us to be able to do it. And even if it's a sacrifice, you guys are worth it. So thank you.
Ms. Bass?
I, want to echo that. But I just want to add to something that I'm thankful that we were looking out for. If we're about each and every, we're not just about each and every student, we're about each and every of our staff members. So I applaud you looking out for all of our staff members, from top all the way down. Everybody is worth, like Janet said, everyone is worth this investment, because everything that everybody does plays an impact on our kids. So I appreciate that it's for all staff.
Thank you.
Chris?
I mean, I don't know how I top any of that, right? I think just to hit something that Aaron just said, I really do, I don't consider this an expense. I consider this an investment, right? And the continued investment in our staff who, help make the magic every day. So, ditto, ditto, ditto. Thank you.
Anyone else? There being no further discussion, no additional questions, do we have a motion to approve the budget expenditure as presented? Raise your hand up really high. Okay. Suzanne McDonald, we have number 2. All right, Mr. Norwood, all in favor? Passes 7-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Schiller.
We do want to just thank our board for that. We appreciate your support of the staff. They're doing great work, and I think you can see it evidenced tonight with our students. So thank you, board, for supporting them.
Moving on to item 4E, consider, discuss, and take appropriate action regarding the 2022-2023 school year comprehensive annual financial report. Dr. Smith?
Trustees, as you know, every year we go through an audit process that audits our financial accounts and make sure that we are in compliance with what we need. Tonight, Ms. Melissa Lafferty, our Chief Financial Officer, is here to introduce our auditors and to give us an overview of their opinion.
Good evening. Tonight I want to introduce Kent Willis. He's the audit partner with Patillo Browning Hill. He and his team worked diligently with us since September through last week, basically to get everything in order, and he's going to quickly go over the results of our financial audit and then kind of hit the highlights of our annual comprehensive financial report that we're going to ask you to approve and submit to TEA in January. Kent?
Thank you, Melissa. Good to see you guys. Thanks for having me tonight. As Melissa said, my name is Kent Willis. I'm a partner at Patillo Brown & Hill in our government audit division. I recognize some of you guys. Maybe you recognize me. I've been around for a few years working with Belton. So it's good to be here. Good to have some good news to share with you. So I do believe you have in front of you a copy of the annual financial report. I'm going to point out a few things in here, but I really do want to keep this high level. I know y'all have some other business to attend to. Of course, if you want to drill down into the details, just stop me at any point. We can get it down into the debits and credits if you want to. I don't mind at all. So I'm going to point out a few page numbers, but just to start off, I wanted to say thanks to Melissa and Carrie and their team. I'm not sure if any of you guys have been audited. I hope not. It's not a lot of fun. I would say the list of requests that we start off with for an audit is over 100 items. I mean, it's a lot of work. And it's not just, oh, the auditors are here, let's give them some stuff. It's a whole year's worth of preparation and accounting requirements that they have to follow. So really appreciative of their work making this a successful audit. I'd say for the years I've worked with Belton, this is the best audit I've been through, just extremely smooth. Melissa's got things whipped into shape quite well. So we really do appreciate the hard work on their behalf or on their part. Alrighty, so if you want to follow along, there's two things I wanted to point out real quick before we get into the actual audit. Follow me to somewhere. Roman numeral 16 and 17. So that's XVI, XVII, just in case you're not sure. I had to pause for a second there and make sure I got it right. But these two pages here, I like to point these out. These are awards that your previous year, 2022, that your financial statements were awarded. This is voluntary, not required. It doesn't improve your bond rating. It doesn't do, what it does do is proves that your financial team knows what they're doing. And so let me describe these two for you. I know you know a little bit about these, but the one on the left on page 16 is the GFOA, Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting. And then the one on the right is from ASBO. It's got a similar name. And they both are voluntary award programs where at the end of an audit, your finance team submits this document to these two separate organizations, and they are graded over a pretty extensive checklist of requirements for formatting, content, and then accounting principles. Did you implement accounting principles correctly? The one on the left, the GFOA award, a minority of our clients get that, and even a smaller minority get both of these awards. So I like to point that out. That's cool. There's no requirement to do this. It's voluntary, and what it proves is that your finance crew has the ability to put this information together, comply with these standards, when it's not necessarily a requirement. So congratulations. I think it's 4 years in a row you'll have had both of these awards. It's pretty cool. All right, so if you want to follow along, let's turn to page 1. We'll get into the actual results of the audit, then we'll turn on to a few other items before I close out. So page 1 seems like a good place to start. This is the independent auditor's report, or the opinion letter. It's kind of a boring letter, to be honest, but it's a really good summary of how an audit was performed and what was concluded at the end of an audit. So basically, we performed the audit for the year ended August 31st, 2023. Under the standards for an auditor, there's a couple of things that we have to agree to do, and then the management agrees to do some things as well under the terms of the audit. So we as the auditor, we come in and we perform the audit, and then we stand in front of you and conclude on how that audit went. Your management team, finance crew, they have to comply with accounting standards, right? Implement all the according standards that are out there, including a new one this year. You'll see a paragraph right there on the page 1, change of accounting principle. I wanted to call this out because this is a big pain for your finance crew. If you're not familiar with GASB 96, you're very lucky, I would say. This is subscription-based information technology arrangements. And essentially what this standard required was going out there and looking at all of your subscription contracts, right? Software, that's what we're talking about. All your software agreements. Y'all have a lot. You can ask Melissa. She's got a list of them all now. Go through that entire list. Go find them all first. Find all your software agreements. Review the agreement and make sure, does it fall under this standard or not, and if it does, we have to account for it. And we're basically putting on assets and liabilities on the government-wide financial statements for those software agreements. So it doesn't sound like a big deal when I describe it that way, but it took, hours and hours, I would imagine, of time from your staff. So this is what you call an unfunded mandate. You guys didn't get any extra money to account for this, but it is required for FY23. So appreciative of the hard work on your staff's part for that. So we've gone through the audit, all the blood, sweat, and tears, reviewed your financial statements, and our job is to make sure that these financial statements that you have in front of you tonight are materially correct, right? We're not looking for perfection. We'd be here all year round. Melissa and Carrie would be tired of us, I would imagine, at the conclusion of that. So what materially correct means to an auditor is if there are errors in these financial statements, that they're so small that they wouldn't affect your decision-making ability or TEAs or taxpayers, bondholders, things like that. So it's a very high level of assurance that we provide when we say materially correct. So you'll see there in the first paragraph or second paragraph, we have given what's called a clean opinion or an unmodified opinion on the financials, which is literally as good as it gets for an audit of a school district. So really pleased to be able to provide a clean opinion on the financials for the 2023 audit. Any questions on the audit process or the opinion before I turn to our next section? Good news. Okay, so let's take a look at the general fund balance for a moment, if you would. Let's take a look at page 18. That's where we'll go. Page 18 and 19, what we're looking at here, a few months behind, but we're looking at the income statements for what we call your major funds. These are just generally your largest funds. All of your federal funds and other funds that the district have roll up into that other governmental column. But I really just wanted to hone in on the general fund and just let's take a step back and look at how the general fund ended up in 2023. So up at the top there, we have total revenues of 137. A little bit further down the page, just about the same amount of expenditures, slightly more. If we go down a few more rows, we have total other financing sources and uses of about $1.4 million, leaving us with a net change in fund balance of almost $1 million. So that's kind of your net income. You can think of that for the general fund. So pretty flat. Percentage-wise, that's a pretty small percentage increase for the year. So flat year really on the income statement. And so that leaves you with $40,124,000 in fund balance. And so we get asked quite a bit as an auditor, how much fund balance should we have? That's a lot longer discussion than y'all would probably want to have right now. But just to give you my perspective on it, if you'll turn back 2 pages to page 15, or 3 pages, let me put that into context. So what I want to hone in on really is your unassigned fund balance. So on page 15 in the general fund column, if you look at that row down at the bottom, 3,600 unassigned, that number, 34,943,000, is unassigned fund balance, or the amount of fund balance you have in the general fund that's not set aside for another purpose, right? So it's your rainy day fund. That's the way people talk about it. So we look at that number and put it into a number of months, essentially. How long could the general fund survive? Let's say suddenly on 9/1/2023, suddenly you had no revenue. How long could the general fund survive? Just kind of a thought experiment. So in your case, it's right at 3 months. That unassigned fund balance portion is right at 3 months, which I think TEA's bare minimum recommendation is 2.5, if I remember correctly. So you're above the minimum recommendation, and you have an extra $5 million there assigned for some other needs. If you were to need to dip into that, you would have that as well. So sitting in a solid place at the end of 2023 with 3 months of fund balance in the general fund. So just wanted to give you our quick perspective on that. I would say most of our districts sit in that 3-month range. We have some smaller ones that can have 6 or 8 months of fund balance. That's quite a bit more difficult for a larger district to have that much set aside, but in a good spot for sure. Okay, let's turn to the very back now, page 103, 104. We'll hit this section and then I will close for the evening. (103, 104), What you're looking at here is a listing of federal expenditures for the year. So you guys get quite a few federal grants. Each row is a different federal grant and the amount that was spent during FY23 by Belton ISD. So as an outside auditor, external auditor, when I come in, what I'm required to do is take a look at that grand total on page 104. And if that total is over $750,000, it triggers what's called a single audit. And what that means is we have to come in and select one or more of the grant programs you see here. We have to drill down into the details and make sure, did Belton ISD follow the rules of that grant? And so these dollars are not free, obviously. There's a lot of strings attached, a lot of compliance requirements where, did you spend the money on the right thing? Did you allow only the eligible students to participate? There's all these different regulations we have to audit and make sure that the district complied with. So for 2023, we selected your Title I grant and the ESSER grant, of course. That's the big one of the last few years. We audited those two programs and are required to issue both an opinion and also should we have any findings, right? If you guys didn't spend the money on the right thing or some other compliance requirement wasn't complied with, I'd have to tell you about that tonight. And so a minute ago, we talked about the opinion letter for the financial statements, and I said you got a clean opinion. That's super common. We rarely have a modified opinion on financial statements. That's just doesn't happen in school districts. What does happen is back here in this arena, in the grant world, we have findings fairly often. It just happens. There's a lot of requirements to follow. The ESSER program is brand new. It's only been around for 3 years. So you can imagine trying to comply with that program as the rules were changing when you were spending the money when it first came out. So to not have any findings in this arena is, I'm super pleased to report that. Clean opinion back here and no findings in the grant arena is less common than it is in the financial statement arena. So happy to be able to report in both letters that we issued this year, clean opinion, no findings. So I'm sure y'all are expecting to hear that, but it's good to hear it from an external auditor, I would imagine. So can I explain anything any better or answer questions? I'd be happy to do that at this point in the presentation.
Anyone have any questions?
Just one little statement. You know, I went to one of our sessions at TASB conference or convention this last time of a school district who had come under conservatorship because their finances were in such bad shape. And I couldn't even wrap my mind around that, having come from Belton ISD and our long legacy of always having outside auditors come in to make sure we're doing it right and always hiring incredibly responsible and professional people who take care of business. And so, you know, I'm not a financial expert, but I certainly appreciate those who are. So thank you very much.
Thanks.
Anyone else? There being no further questions or discussion, do we have a motion to approve the 2022-2023 school year comprehensive annual financial report as presented? Ms. Bass, do I have a second? Mr. Floor, all in favor, raise your hand. That passes 7-0.
Thank you guys for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. President, if I may, I want to thank Melissa and Carrie and their staff for the outstanding work that they do. I want to point out that when they say that it's rare to see districts win those awards, and we've been winning them for years in a row, it's because of the good people that we have in our system and the way that our board takes care of those good people. So thank you, thank you, thank you for what you do to support them. I'm super proud of their work and thankful for what they do every day for Belton ISD.
Okay, moving on to item 4F. Consider, discuss, and take appropriate action regarding the award of RCSP number 2311-600-331 for the Belton ISD Agricultural Facility Bond Project.
We are excited to get the Ag Barn moving, and so Mike Morgan will take you through a brief explanation of where we are and what comes next. Go ahead, Mike.
Thank you, Mr. President. We're really excited. This will mark, if approved, our 8th active construction project going on as part of the 2022 bond. We're in one of those facilities tonight, and this would be the 8th project we will have rolling. As said, we did release RCSP 2311-600-331 on November 14th, 2023. and closed on December 5th, 2023 for construction of the ag facility that will be part of our bond projects. The district did receive 3 qualified proposals, and a selection committee that was established evaluated and ranked those proposals. I will say that the quality of the proposals were really good, and we had some firms that are doing this type of construction statewide and involved in agriculture facilities and school facilities. So we were very happy with the response we got from the qualified bids. Based on that evaluation process, tonight we recommend that we initiate negotiations with Bounds Commercial Construction to proceed with construction of the agricultural facility project. The base proposal would be recommended to have a not-to-exceed amount of $3,182,000. Alternates considered would not exceed, if we could do it within budget, a total amount of $175,578. At this time, we would ask that you approve the recommendation for Bounds Commercial Construction as the construction manager for our project, and that you allow and authorize us, then the superintendent, to negotiate and execute a contract and approve the expenditure.
Any questions for Mike? Any further discussion? Okay, there being no further discussion or questions for Mike, then, do we have a motion to approve the award of RCSP number 2311-600-331 for the Belton ISD Agricultural Facility Bond Project? Do you have a motion? Rucker, have a second? Ms. Lee? Okay, all in favor, please raise your hand. Passes 7-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Moving on to item 7, reports. A, academic progress report. Dr. Smith?
Board, one of the things that I admire most about this Board of Trustees is your continued focus when we talk about the student experience in our school district. We, after discussing this last spring, it made a commitment to make sure that we talk about academic progress every time we get together in board meetings, and I appreciate your support in that. Tonight we have Gabby, Ben Smith, and normally I'd be saying welcome to Denise Sharp as well. Denise is our Executive Director of School Leadership for Elementary, but I did want to let you know Denise became a grandmother this weekend, and so she's not here tonight to present, but Gabby and Ben are here to take it for you.
Good evening again. I am here alongside Ben. I'm going to take the lead for just a bit, but just know that Ben is happy to jump in at any time to answer any questions related to the report that we're providing for you this evening. The mid-year report that I'm going to provide to you today related to academic progress is going to be measured by our STAR interim assessments. Our teachers assess all year long, every day in the classrooms, formatively. The report that I'm going to share with you tonight is really based on the STAR interim. The role STAR interim plays within our system for us is it's an assessment along the way to help us measure student progress from year to year, aligned to STAR, and to help us get some predictive measures on how students are anticipated to do when they take the actual STAR assessment. As you recall, we have had an intense focus on increasing the percentage of students who are performing at meets and masters this year. That is an area that we have felt like over time is something that we need to invest in growth in. Based on the STAR interim that is only provided or only administered in the fall, let me back up a little bit. Comparing our students' testing last fall to this fall, I am happy to share with you that in both reading and math, in all tested subject areas averaged, we are seeing increases in the number of students who are performing at the meets and masters level. The chart that you see here is the average of all tested grade levels. On the left, you see a math comparison from 22 to 23, side by side with 23-24. And again, this is a fall to fall measure. And on the right, you see our reading scores compared side by side in fall to fall measure. If you look at the green areas, those are areas of growth for us. So on the bottom is masters, and you can see those are pretty significant gains in the number of students combined at meets and masters, 26% in math overall, and a 34% increase in reading. One of the reasons you will hear the following slides tonight specifically focused on math, I've made the decision to really focus on math, is because as you can see here, we do have an increase of number of students who did not meet on the fall interim of the math interim assessment for students. We've got an interesting increase in meets and masters while also an increase in did not meet. And so we'll be digging deeper into that this evening. Math has been a continued focus for us for the last couple of years, and so I'm going to report out tonight on math and then come back to you in January and talk about a little bit more in depth with reading. So from here on, we're going to talk about math this evening in our comparison. And the visualizations that you'll see, there will be the same color coordination throughout the presentation. What's up on our screen right now, you'll see side by side, all students in elementary, their performance from last fall to this fall, comparing the same grade level, how students performed in third grade last fall and how students performed in third grade this fall. And then you can see the projection to fourth grade and fifth grade side by side. We added in a red bar to show you where students ended the school year, as we explained that this is a predictive measure of how they'll perform on STAR. So before I go deeper, can I answer any questions about how the visualizations are laid out?
I think I need help with the red bar.
Okay.
Thank you.
So the red, if you just focus to the left of that black line, those are our students' scores on the fall interim in the 22-23 school year. The red line is the end of year performance on actual STAR. So you can see if we just look at third grade, that big gap would be the growth that they made throughout the school year. Does that help, Ms. Lee? Okay, and we've carried those throughout the presentation. What I want to draw your attention to is that the green and blue section is the meets and masters. So you can see across each of those grade levels, we've made some gains in meets and masters, and we want to celebrate that and acknowledge that. You can also see the gap between the colored bars and the 100%. That illustrates that we do have some more students that did not meet as measured by interim in the fall this year in math. The next slide is actual cohorts. So the difference between what you just saw in this one is the first slide is just, I have a third grade classroom this year. Next year I have a whole nother group of students and it's third grade again. Cohort data is actually following our students, so as they progress through the grade levels. So on the left, you'll see our third grade students from the 22-23 school year who are now in fourth grade and how their performance. So you can see a gain in their actual performance and the number of students at approaches, meets, and masters, as well as a larger number of students who are in meets and masters. So we've got a pretty significant gain there in that cohort of students. To the right of the bar is our students who were in fourth grade last year who are now in fifth grade. This is one of the grade levels that we see an increase in a number of students that did not meet, while simultaneously seeing an increase in the students who are performing at our highest bands. I want to stop there before I move forward and just answer any questions.
Gabby, what does that tell you?
So, there's lots of layers. We are digging in. I want to celebrate the gains in meets and masters. We've prioritized a focus on critical thinking, which is pushing us to think at higher levels, and so we're excited to see that. We've got to tend to each and every student and know where every student is performing at all times. I'll show some highlights at the end. We do have quite a bit of inconsistency, and so there you'll see some ups and downs in grade levels. There are some places where it tells us you got a curriculum issue here, and so our team is really focusing on concerns curriculum-wise. So there's a number of different things that are happening, but I do think that our meets and masters, our critical thinking focus is yielding us a higher number of students at the meets and masters level.
Board, if I can add something as well on this. If you just take a look at the left-hand column, third grade 2022, and you see 28, 9, and 4, that's the results of the interim assessment given at this time last year. But then you see how much higher that red bar is. So just remember, learning is not finished when you take the interim assessment as well. We believe that there's going to be a lot of growth in our numbers as we continue to progress through the year. But to Gabby's point, we really want to hone in and ensure as we continue to focus on critical thinking that we're also not leaving some students behind in that. So I do want to point out, yes, you see some lower numbers than you would want there, but also if you just take a look at last year, you see how much he grew between the interim assessment and the end of the year star, and we would plan for and support additional growth between now and that time as well.
One other note I'd say, Mr. Alcozar, is there's some outliers, some anomalies in the data. With so many changes in the testing structure last year, I also think that there's some leveling out in student performance data that's going to happen. For example, the fourth graders here, if you look, they were projected, I'm going to go back one, they outperformed on their beginning of year STAR interim test, their end of year STAR performance. So while this is a predictive measure, it predicted our fourth grade students performing significantly higher at 81%, and then the outcomes at the end of the year were lower at 65%. So I point that out because at this time there's some inconsistencies. Simultaneously, there were quite a few changes in the testing structure that we explained to you all previously. So I think there's going to need to be some leveling out in some of our data as well. So the remainder of our slide, go ahead. I'm sorry, Mr. Fuller.
When they take the interim star, what is the scope of the material? Is that the entire year's worth of material, or is that like only the material that we would have expected them to get through at this point in the year? Like, help me understand the scope of that interim.
Sure. The interim test is the full scope of standards for that grade level. So you think it's statewide, the entire state has access to this assessment. And each of us have different instructional timelines within our district. And so it is the entire scope. It's also a responsive assessment. So every test question that's administered based on the student response, it sends them to the next.
That's a really good piece of perspective, right? I mean, so, okay, these numbers are about like half where you would want them to be, right? Well, they're only halfway through the year, right? And they're being tested on all the material halfway through the year, right? So, I mean, there's still things that we need to do, for sure.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely. And I want to fully acknowledge that. The need to grow is absolutely a focus for us, and we want to look at the growth that we're already seeing in meets and masters and acknowledge that. All right, so our middle schools, as a reminder, math, they're structured the exact same way. On the left, we have 6th, 7th, and 8th for the 22-23 school year, and on the right is the 23-24 school year. So you can see, just looking side by side, this again is one of the grade levels where overall our bars might be lower, but want to draw your attention to 8th grade. You see a significant growth in their student performance overall, as well as in the number of students, percentage of students at meets and masters. And it's structured exactly the same on this chart as well. In all grade levels, we see an increase in the percentage of students that are at meets and masters. I'm going to follow that middle school over into cohort. And again, you see 5th to 6th, 6th to 7th, and 7th to 8th. Same trend that we see. This grade, the middle school is where you see those inconsistencies that I've referenced. What I will tell you is 7th grade in particular, over time, regardless of whether it's been interim or the actual STAR test, is an area that we are focused on. It is an outlier for us in the academic performance data in math in particular. Just give you a moment to look at those. Any questions on our middle school data? All right, I'm going to jump over to high school. This is Algebra 1 EOC performance. This, in both performance year over year and in cohorts, you can see a significant change. The amount of students, the performance levels stayed about the same, but just look at that change in the number of students who are performing at meets and masters. That's a big gain. And you'll see the exact same thing when you look at our cohort. Now, the difference between year over year and cohort here is that the cohort students moving from 8th grade into Algebra 1 also had a notable shift in their overall performance. So these are a lot of visuals to look at, and so I want to summarize some highlights for you all across the data. We see both in performance levels and cohorts an increase in meets and masters. Notably, in 3rd grade and 8th grade, there's a significant change in their performance levels. 8th grade in particular has cohort gains as well. Our 3rd graders, this is their first time testing. We also are highlighting the Algebra 1 performance, both in achievement and in their growth as a cohort of students. There's several areas that are more concerning to us that we are focusing on. One being that inconsistency that I was bringing your attention to. There's not a consistency of growth across grade levels, and so we're having to drill in into specific grade levels. A couple of those one of those in particular being 7th grade. It is a concern for us that there's an increase of students who are in the did not meet range. Every single campus is being provided a list of those students who did not demonstrate growth from fall to fall so that we can have closer monitoring at the individual student level. And then again, the 7th grade area is one of focus for us, as well as an increase in the number of students who meet eligibility for special education who were in the did not meet range on their fall math interim. I want to categorize our response to this data. We've categorized it into areas of curriculum, instruction, and assessment. Want to be able to tell you specifically some action that we're taking. One in particular that I've mentioned to you all before is that we've identified prioritized standards. How they are useful to us right now is before we enter any unit of study, our curriculum team is able to make just-in-time adjustments. So they'll be able to bring back any content area from the fall that we experienced difficulty and spiral it and embed it into future units of study to make sure that we're responding to areas of need. We've also supplemented resources. One of the common themes that we're seeing is concern around our math resource, and so we have aligned to our math guiding beliefs that were built over the last school year. We have been providing supplemental resources and are getting very positive response for our teachers, in particular a math mark resource that supports teachers in small group instruction. Related to instruction, this is when we go and we actually see what's happening with kids. We're going to maintain that focus on critical thinking. We're going to keep the work going that we've started. We have also started a pilot program at South Belton Middle School in the area of math that is very structured in the math block. Because 7th grade is a concern for us, we are using those structures, and our math coordinator will be working with all of our 7th grade teachers to adjust the way the math instructional block looks, because we're seeing early response to that at South Belton Middle School. In addition, we are looking at our teachers and grade levels across the system and identifying the places where we see the highest growth. And this is a place where Ben, Denise, and my team are working closely together, and we'll be doing classroom visits to see what's happening in these math classrooms that we need to apply in other areas. So we're getting even more targeted in our classroom visits. Related to assessment, and all of our opportunities that teachers come together and instructional coaches come together, we are analyzing this data. Every single one of our meetings has data in front of them, and they are making just-in-time adjustments to their plans, as well as building in more formative assessments at the classroom level so teachers are able to monitor right in the spot, right when instruction happens, and make just-in-time adjustments. So that's a big work that we're putting in place, and I want to be able to answer any questions for you all. Ben as well is happy to answer any questions.
Anyone? Go ahead, Chris.
Not questions, right? So just think my inner thoughts, right? What am I asking myself? I don't know that we have answers, right? So these 7th graders, right? So these were the COVID fourth graders, or were they the COVID third graders, right? I don't know, interesting, right? I'm just thinking about that, processing that. And then the meets, or the does not meet, I'm also thinking about the implications of that, right? I mean, so it seems to be the change in critical thinking is really taking on for one group of students, right? But really not setting in for another group of students, right? So, I don't know, these are just, again, no question, I'm just thinking out
There's
loud, right?
absolutely potential there,
Yeah.
Chris. And what I would say, Mr. Floor, I'm sorry, what I would say about, in particular, our students and the COVID implication, because we're identifying standards differently, we are looking at the curriculum documents differently. I can now go back to say, what are those critical standards that they may have been impacted by, and we are making the adjustments right now.
Just to comment, I think I'm thinking along what Chris is saying, that I'm a little confused that we have increases in meets and masters, but we have drops in approaches. It seems so inconsistent to me. You seem like you would have increases in all three if you're going to have, especially the top two.
But those kids are the ones who moved to meets and masters.
Right.
Right?
Right.
So that group split, right? So part of that group went to meets and masters, and part of that group went
Right.
to doesn't meet. Yeah.
I would just echo that, and I would say it's very, very important. This is highlighting each and every for us. It's very important that we are aware of where every single student was. And I would say that we have historically almost neglected those students who are performing at highest bands and not pushed them into those levels of performance. And so we have got to balance and make sure we know exactly where every single student is.
Yeah, I mean, this data is really important, right? And the work that we're doing is really important. So thank you for doing this, taking us a little mind shift for some of us to kind of look at this data, right? But it's data that you can act on, right? So we need to continue. So thank you. Yeah.
Absolutely.
There's some good things going on, though.
There are. We're proud of it, and
Yeah.
we want to see gains across the board, absolutely.
Thank you, Gabby.
Thank you.
Dr. Smith. Superintendent's report.
Mr. President, members of the board, I was told that there might be a delay in the clicking. I think this is a hoax and they just don't want, there we go. Again, superintendent's report this month, we want to provide some highlights and comments from my perspective over the past month, specifically on the student experience in Belton ISD. We'll hit some of these things along with a couple of really important items for not only our community, but our staff as well. First of all, I want to celebrate the first tuba Christmas in Belton ISD. When we talk about that notion of each and every, I think it's important to point out our fine arts programs in the school district and how many students we actually serve through them. This is, I guess the right word is a conglomeration of students across our middle schools and high schools that are tuba players. And so they got together at Lake Belton High School and had a concert. I took my parents to the concert, and one of the first comments I heard was, the tubas never get to play the melody. This is awesome. So it was really a unique event, and we learned a little bit about the history of the tuba Christmas as well. But it was a highlight for us because, and the band directors put this out there. These are not my words, but so often our schools are in competition settings. This wasn't about that at all. It was about pulling people in together as one community, and I think that's pretty special for our students in Belton ISD. The next thing is our Special Olympics bowling competition. We had some students do amazing work in Special Olympics competition. And I want to give a shout out to all our coaches and supports that support kids in Special Olympics. I think I've told you all that Special Olympics is near and dear to my heart, and to see students in an environment where they're able to thrive, that they're able to compete, that they're able to celebrate their accomplishments is an extremely rewarding experience, and it falls right in line with the Penguin Project, which you all know is near and dear to this board's heart. But definitely some highlights from our students at the Special Olympics bowling competition. Our Beef Prize Patrol was out and about on display throughout our school district last week, and there was, I believe, about $141,000 that has been handed out throughout our school district in teacher grants and supports for kids, for teachers to create those exceptional learning experiences for kids throughout our school district. The support of BEEF, our foundation, is critical to our mission as a school district, and so we're extremely grateful for them and thankful for all of you that were able to attend to be out and about celebrating that. Also, we had an Inspire Appreciation Dinner. Inspire is the word we use to describe the event. And this is for our new to profession teachers in Belton ISD. Last week at the Belton High School Commons, we had the ability to gather them for a dinner to share with them some comments that their colleagues have made about them, supporting them, encouraging them, and to just simply say thank you for the work that they're doing for our kids in the school district. You all know that the teaching profession is not for the faint of heart. You go into this and there are challenges along the way, but one of the things we know works the best is when colleagues come together and administrators come together to recognize the hard work that those brand new teachers are putting in and tell them, hey, we're right here for you, we got your back. It makes a difference in the lives of those new to profession teachers. So we're thankful for Vicki Dean and Gabby for helping us pull the new to profession teachers dinner off last week. Whoops. And then lastly, we had our faith-based leaders meeting at Lake Belton High School in the past month as well. I believe we had over 60 people gathered in attendance. That included some of our principals and administrators, but also many representatives from our faith-based leaders across the system. We believe wholeheartedly that we're better when we have an engaged community in the learning experience for kids. And so we talked specifically about literacy partners and the product that was born out of this partnership with our faith-based community, encourage them to continue to get involved. And we talked to them specifically about ways to support our students during this holiday season. So we're extremely grateful for their continued support and work and the efforts that they do in our community on a daily basis for our students and families to have a great environment in our school district. And that concludes the superintendent's report for the month.
Any questions for Dr. Smith? Okay, moving on to the consent agenda, item 7. Does anyone wish to pull an item from the consent agenda for discussion? Nope, all right. Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented? Ms. McDonald, do we have a second? Ms. Lee? All right, okay. Okay. All in favor, please raise your hand. That passes 7-0. Moving on to item 8, board request for new information. Does anyone at this time wish to request any new information or reports from the administrative team? No requests. Calendar of events, it's my understanding that Becca will email that to each and every one of us to take a look at. All right, moving on to item 10, public comments regarding non-agenda items. Do we have anyone? Becca? None. Okay. There being no public comments regarding non-agenda items, we'll move on to item 11, closed session. Texas Government Code subchapters D and E. The time is 7:33. And the board will now go into closed session for A, student disciplinary matter, Texas Government Code Section 551.082, B, consultation with attorney, Texas Government Code Section 551.071, and C, personnel, Texas Government Code Section 551.074. Okay. Are we on? All right. Let's see, where are we? The time is 9:32 p.m. and the board will now reconvene in open session. All action item reports and consent items for this meeting have been addressed. There being no further business, this meeting is adjourned at 9:32 p.m.